2 wins in a row, a bunch more competitive games. What's going better for the Pacers recently? How are they performing so well? Why are some encouraged by their young player development? Tyler Smith and I dive into all that, look at all the starting lineup changes, and I make Tyler give me a trade take, all on today's Locked On Pacers podcast.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Happy Monday. Hope you had a great weekend, and welcome into another edition of the Locked On Pacers podcast, where we, of course, talk about the Indiana Pacers. As always, my name's Tony East. I cover the team for Forbes and Circle City Spin, and today, Tyler Smith from Indy Sports Legends is going to join us to talk all about the Pacers surging-ish, surging's the wrong word, of late, playing better, winning their last 2 fourth-quarter leads and 5 of their last 6. More importantly, for their current and long-term, young guys playing better. Ben Sheppard, Furphy, Jarace Walker, all putting a good foot forward in many recent games. We dive into all that. We also talk about the starting lineup constantly changing, why we think that's a good thing for both this season and future seasons. And as I'm going to do every time I have a guest on until the trade deadline, I'm going to make them give me a trade take, and Tyler gives me one at the end. Really good conversation. Let's just get right to it. The Pacers are kind of playing good. They've won 2 in a row. They've been leading in the fourth quarter in 5 of their last 6 games. They've built a 9+ point lead in every first quarter in 2026. Yeah, they lost 13 in a row, but things look a little better of late. And of course, 2 in a row is a huge success for this team who has only done that 3 times this year. What is actually going better? What is going right for this team? And so much more coming today with Tyler Smith from Indy Sports Legends, who is back today. Tyler, hello. We saw it in person. They beat a really good team by a lot last night.
Yeah, what's going on? Pacers on a bit of a win streak, and Hoosiers in the Natty. Cubs get Alex Bregman. Life is good.
Yeah, you're rolling. My gosh. Imagine signing Alex Bregman, not telling DeVers, losing DeVers, and then losing Alex Bregman. Red Sox, great job, guys. That's good asset management. Obviously, the last couple times they won 2 in a row, the first time they beat the Wizards and then the Bulls, who stink. The second time they beat the Bulls, who stunk at the time, and then the Kings. This time they beat the you can say what you want about the Hornets, but they just beat the Thunder and absolutely beat the brakes off the Jazz 2 nights ago when this comes out. The Heat are over 500, and they clobbered them for 48 minutes, like all the things I said at the beginning. This is certainly, I think, the best stretch of at least maybe their lows are still the same, but their highs seem a little higher right now as the Pacers, and that's actually leading to actual results. Should they want these results to last for a long time? No, probably not. But they are playing better and at least finding some things to point at the end of the season and go, sweet, that was cool. This guy was good. Or sweet, we did really well in this stretch because of that, is what this should all be about for the Pacers right now. So, Tyler, what are they doing better right now? What are you seeing that actually looks like a real competitive-ish team right now?
I think lately they've started to score more points than the opponent, and that's – but for real, though, from mid-December to late December, there was a stretch they were averaging a little over 100 points a game. So it felt like 2002 again, except the opponent was obviously scoring 120. But, yeah, scoring more points. I mean, I feel like I was trying to break down. I was looking at all aspects, and it's the rebounding, the assist totals, three-point shooting. Rick Carlisle talked about having an edge. And to me, one of the ways to quantify that would be on the glass. And they out-rebounded Charlotte, who's by a lot of metrics a top 5 rebounding team. Then they out-rebounded Miami on Saturday. Miami's at least in the top half. And the Pacers have struggled in that area for most of the year. So that's a big thing, having that edge on the glass. And then in a make-or-miss league, I think they shot 44% from 3 against Charlotte, 45% from 3 against Miami. So that's obviously a key. They didn't have a great assist night against Charlotte, but Saturday, I believe it was 36 assists compared to 15 or 16 turnovers. So obviously a lot to like in that regard.
I just felt, especially against the Heat, I felt like the player and ball movement was at a level it has not reached very often this year. And even the guys who traditionally you'd think of as the ball stops at them for some reason, right? Siakam should stop the ball sometimes. Ben Mathurin should stop the ball sometimes. Jarace Walker sometimes holds a little too long. Even Ben Mathurin didn't play, obviously, but the guys who usually it sticks with for more than a millisecond, it just kept moving and moving and moving. And then in the third quarter, it didn't for a second, and then it got right back to where it needed to be. And their horrible bottom falls out stretch was only 4 minutes instead of 8. And Caitlin Cooper tweeted their stats today, but their offense of late has been really good. And like they're making shots at a level that, go back to November, every game was like, oh, they shot under 36% and they have no chance to win when they did. Like they're generating and making real shots. And I don't know that will hold forever, especially considering what the averages are of this team and these players have been for their entire careers. Like this is probably unsustainably high. But I think that the connection level on offense is at a spot it hasn't really been at all this season. That's why last night I really dug in with everybody about Andrew Nembhard's assist to turnover ratio, because it starts with him, right? He is the point guard. He is this pace setter. He is the tone setter. He gets everything going. And he even freely admitted it. I didn't even really ask for his opinion on turnover specifically. But he was like, yeah, I've been focusing on that. I turn it over too much sometimes. And of late, I would say like 3 weeks or so, you can see a little, there's still some passes he definitely would want back, but a little more crispness to his setups, less carelessness, and all that really gets everybody the ball more. It keeps it, like the Pacers have talked about their superpower being everybody touching the ball and feeling good about it. Like that happens when you don't turn it over as much. And so I just feel like there's so much more purpose and focus and direction with their offense, and their defense has, below average, been the better side of the ball this year. That's just held. And so when their offense looks good, they look like a real team. And so we'll see if this holds forever. I don't expect their shooting to be this awesome all the time, but this has been like finally something, at least a little bit for them to look back on at the end of the year. Go in that stretch, we saw with these collection of players some offensive success, and that's important.
Yeah, and the game Saturday almost felt, it kind of resembled what we've been used to the last couple of years. As you mentioned, the Christmas and the assist to turnover ratio, the shooting, sharing the ball, a point guard with ridiculous stats. It just kind of was a throwback. And I think for some fans, like this is, it can't be that surprising that they're going to have some good stretches. There's still a lot of talent here. There's a lot of pride. So we're still a game or two away from the halfway point, believe it or not, of the season. But yeah, it's kind of crazy slogging along a little bit. But yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, a lot of good things. And when you're limiting turnovers and you have NBA players in this league, then think of the additional even shot attempts you're getting. I mean, it sounds super simple, but if you're not turning it over, then more shots are going up, and they're pro players, so your point total is going to go up, obviously.
And the other thing, of course, would be that the Hornets game, they never had like a dismal stretch. They had some not awesome stretches, but I mean, the theme for them in like every loss for 2 weeks was 8 to 10 minutes of just like, what just happened? Like the worst basketball you've ever seen, where the rest of the game was totally competent. And against the Heat, this isn't good. The start of the third quarter was bad. It only was like 5 minutes or 4 minutes of that. And it didn't really happen at all against the Hornets. They just kind of got like slightly outplayed for a decent amount of stretches. I think you can get rid of those. Like, all right, that's the 48-minute stuff that they've been talking about. And so that's all progress to me in a way that is meaningful. And that's one of those things that's just like totally inexplicable to me. Like I have yet to understand how that has happened so much. It's never the same players on the floor. I mean, for a while it was like more often the second quarter, but it was very rarely the same time of the game. And all of a sudden they just would like forget how to play and like forget who each other were. And I never got it. And now that's not happening for granted only 2 games, but like, I do wonder if they can, if getting a win and the vibes being just a smidge better can help them push through that, because that was so inexplicable and made no sense to me.
Yeah. When the Heat cut it to 7, we're kind of thinking that it's going to be one of those prolonged slumps.
We all thought it. Thought it.
Miami's still going to get the win, and then they go on this crazy 22-point run and, flip things on a dime. So, yeah, I do think that there is something to be said about momentum and vibes and all that stuff, whatever word you want to use. It just feels differently when you get the monkey off your back, because when you're in such a prolonged losing streak and losing season, there's got to be that inevitable, here we go again, other teams going on a run, we kind of fold, even with different guys on the court. So we'll see if it lasts longer, but it's been nice to see for the guys and for the hard work they're putting in to see a little success for a couple games.
Boston, Toronto, New Orleans this week. Boston's really good. Toronto's pretty good. New Orleans stinks. Like, if they play well, they could win 2 of those reasonably. I'm not saying they will, but they could. Yeah, the thing that in that stretch, I talked about this on my postgame podcast after the Heat game. When it got to 7, immediately they got a 3 from Nembhard and a 3 from Potter. And I think they like all collectively like did a deep breath. Like, phew, like we'll be fine. And then they kept playing their way instead of feeling all freaking out about how bad the run was. Right? And it just takes 2 plays sometimes, right? That's all it is. And so I thought those were 2. It's only 2 possessions, but I thought those were 2 really noteworthy plays. Everybody, quick break so we can talk about FanDuel. Fridays already feel different during basketball season. FanDuel's making them even better. Every Friday night before games tip off, FanDuel gives fans a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. NBA Happy Hour is your official pregame, a limited time window where special offers drop right inside the FanDuel app before the action starts. Fridays from 6 to 7:30 Eastern have become appointment viewing with NBA Happy Hour. Opening the FanDuel app during NBA Happy Hour always brings something new. Boosts, bonuses, and surprises. It's easy to check the weekly special before tip-off and make a move before the window closes. The timing is perfect. It's right before the games, right before the weekend starts. It adds extra energy to Friday night basketball without overthinking it. So before tip-off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. A little basketball, a little action, a whole lot of Friday energy. That's NBA Happy Hour only on FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. The other part of this stretch that it has been significant, at least maybe in comparison to some of their earlier wins or whatever you want to call it, is Ben Sheppard is back and balling, making everything. Johnny Furphy is starting. Like when they were winning games earlier in the season, he was out with that ankle thing and defending great and getting every rebound that's like within 6 feet of his arms and making some threes. And Jarace Walker, has he missed a 3 in like a week and a half? Like I think he has, but it doesn't feel like it. It's hard to ignore like and separate that this just shot making versus actually playing better. But of the guys playing that, granted, like they want to see growth from everybody, Neesmith, Nembhard, everybody. But the 3 like actually legitimate young guys they would hope could play well and in theory show something that make them think maybe they could be capable of just a little more next year are all playing well at the same time. And that is completely different from any other stretch they've had this season of any sort of success. I'll let you pick any of those players or all 3 at once. What are you seeing from that kind of young wing trio? I guess Sheppard's more of a guard that has been exciting to you or meaningful for the Pacers.
I think what's probably most meaningful just because of trade rumors and where they're at would be Jarace Walker. So yes. even if he ends up on the block, even if some people want him dealt, you want him to play really well over the next month to raise that trade value. But I think that's just most important for him. And, the more I'm around the game and the more I just think about the evolution of the game and where the players are today, like to me, it's all about consistency. Any player can have a big game any night. Any player can have a night even every couple weeks where it's like the potential for this guy is unbelievable, but can they string it together? And that's what he's done here recently, but we've also seen other stretches where he's able to do that. Can he take that next level? Will that be here? Will that be somewhere else where it's more like 5, 6, 7, 8 games in a row? He's able to do that instead of the random huge night, and then the next night he's losing guys on defense and throwing the ball in the stands, and you just don't know what happened. So I think in terms of importance, just for the contracts and where he was selected in the draft and all of that, the trading deadline, all that stuff, I think his play of late is probably the most important.
Totally agree. And it's of the most consequence. So this part will not hold, but specifically since Christmas, Jarace Walker is 57.1% from 3. That's pretty good. That's a lot. 16 for 28. He's always been a good shooter. Like it looks kind of goofy, but it's gone in about 40% his whole career. And after his just insanely bad start where like all those accounts would post like, here are the worst shooters in the NBA this season. And there's Jarace Walker. He's up to 34% from deep, which is still not, it's still below average, but it's very close. Like he's approaching closer to the player we've seen for much of his career. And he's just on a heater from deep. And that's what I'm trying to say is I don't want to separate. I don't want to say he's just finally making threes and that's it. Like last game, he had 4 dimes and 4 steals. Like there has been more other stuff that is relevant and interesting to the Jarace Walker experience because I think you just absolutely nailed it. With him, Dustin Dopirak and I were talking about this on Press Row last night. I think Dustin even tweeted it once a couple weeks ago. Every game, Jarace does 3 or 4 things that are like, whoa. And then he does 4 things the opposite direction. And you're like, And so you see that he is capable of a lot, but he is so inconsistent where there's a lot of just like, what was that level plays every game? And so that's kind of been the story of his whole career. He even said it last year about this time that he felt like his second season was filled with ups and downs. And eventually he got a little consistent. He played fine in the playoffs. And so seeing it every night from him, even if it's just, what has it been since Christmas? 9 games, 8 games, something like that. 9 is the answer. Like that is a kind of decent stretch for him, like 1/9 of the season of consistent, normal play with fewer, still some, but fewer just like what was that level plays is a big deal for him. And even like to your point about if he's on the trade block or his value to the Pacers also changes if that happens, which is still meaningful even if he doesn't get moved. So it's all very good for them to see that this career 38% three-point shooter can in fact still make threes and contribute in other ways despite and I mean, Jarace would admit this, like really, really rough start to the season.
Yeah, now he's on a like Micah Potter level of three-point shooting, who is 14 for 30, I believe, as a Pacer in 9 games.
Yeah, he can't miss. I mean, so his first couple of games, every time Micah Potter would take corner threes, and I was like, why is he taking those? And now he's making all of them from everywhere. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. I should have bought the G League shooting for him was real, but the NBA shooting was kind of like, yeah, now, you see a lot of guys like that, but so far, only 30 attempts. But so far, I'm like, oh, Micah Potter should be allowed to shoot pretty much any time. I think Furphy's the one that is, because going into this year, or really this stretch of health for him, not question marks necessarily, but just like, what are you good at? What are the things that you're going to do when you are asked to play serious, real minutes? And the rebounding was awesome last year, and that's been legit again. But the fact that I still don't know what he's going to be as a shooter, but the fact that he's making enough that I'm like not, cringing when he takes them. And his defense looks like a thing. Like he's very tenacious and tough and moves just well enough to stay in front of quick, twitchy guards. I think the fastest guys still give him a little bit of trouble. I'm not going to put a 3-and-D label on him yet, but I am going to say that there is enough encouraging spots in both of those skills. That's very important. Like that's what you hope a player you draft at 35 can be, is someone who can either guard or shoot. And he's shown signs of both and has been a good rebounder. And while we're talking about what this means for the long term, like with Jarace stepping up into a bigger role, potentially being a thing, can he shoot? Whatever. The Furphy Siakam pairing is like awesome, which is very random, but if in theory, if you're trying to build the Pacers rotation next year, you're like, well, we know we should put Furphy and Siakam together when Siakam comes in for that second unit stretch. Like that's really important to know. So that's been really meaningful in that it has short and long-term consequences.
Yeah. This entire season should be about finding those combinations, finding what works and what doesn't. So the fact they've had a million different lineups and
we'll get to that
24 different players, I think have played for the team. I mean, this is a season to do it. So if you can find even a couple things that, hey, this guy's going to carve out a role or this pairing works, that's a win in a season that doesn't have many on the scoreboard. So, it's important. And Furphy, I've kind of thought sometimes the same way as Jay Huff or even Jarace Walker. Like you kind of wonder, are they a 3-point shooter? Are they going to be streaky? Are they, the full season numbers? Are they going to come together? So all 3 guys, you're kind of wondering, are they just chucking them? Are they is there something there? And I think, Furphy's obviously young enough to figure it out, but that's going to be a big part of his game.
I still don't know what I think of JF as a shooter.
Yeah.
Like, oh, dang, he's 29% for the year. Oh, look, he made 4 in a row. I have no idea what I think he can be at. It's very confusing. Sheppard is the least. This is insulting, and I don't intend for it to be the least interesting success of the 3 because I've seen him do this before in like legitimately important NBA games. Not at this level. He can't miss from 3 right now, but I know that he's going to run really fast all the time, and I know that he can shoot if given the right shots. And honestly, it might just be as simple as like when he played early in the season, he was playing up a roll from what he's usually done, and he had to drive a little bit more, and he had to take a little bit harder shots and be guarded by a better player. And now they're not healthy, but they're healthier, and so he's in his normal pecking order spot, and he's the 4th or 5th option every time he's on the floor, and his shots are wide open, and he's making them, and he's defending great. Like he just looks like the Ben Sheppard everybody had seen play a million times, which is noteworthy because early in the season he looked like god awful. Like he couldn't make anything. It was outside of him driving a couple of more. I had very few nice things to say about him early in the season, so it's good that this is happening, even just to prove like yes, this is still a player that exists.
Yeah, I think for him it's more. I mean, I could be wrong, but it's more about knowing what you have in him, whereas some of the others maybe have a higher ceiling. But the fact that, think of some of those playoff runs the last couple of years where he would come in for a few minutes, knock down a couple of threes, and even the announcers, the opposing teams are thinking they have another guy that comes in and runs and hits threes. It's like in that role, like he was incredibly important in a lot of key moments and key games. So if that's even what he ends up being for this team next year and beyond is just a guy that gets some minutes and hits some threes. I mean, you got to have those. So it's been encouraging to see that first half slump is not something that's sticking too long for him.
If he never does anything else for the Pacers ever again, he contributed a top 5 loudest crowd pop I've ever heard in that 3 in Game 6 against the Thunder. So good for him. Same thing as Jarace. I'll do the since very small sample stretch. Since his return from injury, only 16 attempts, but 10 for 16 from 3. That's 62.5%. That's very good. Making over half of his shots, defending quite well, being Ben Sheppard-y, right? 7 points a game on good shooting. That's exactly what they hope Ben Sheppard is. And somehow, also like Jarace, despite his awful start, up to 33% from 3 this season, which is still, again, not good, but closer to a respectable number where you're like, yeah, just keep going, figure it out, keep shooting. And Ben Sheppard is doing that. I don't know if I think it'll, like, his career percentage is much lower than Jarace's. I don't know what he'll settle in at this season, but they're going in right now, which is great news for the Pacers. One more break here, so we can talk about game time during basketball season. There's nothing like being in the building, the energy, the crowd, the first big run that gets everyone on their feet. Fans want to be there for those moments, not stuck refreshing screens or guessing what tickets are really going to cost. That's where Game Time comes in. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage back, making it incredibly easy to score amazing tickets. Fast, simple, and without the guesswork. Browsing the Game Time app is straightforward and intuitive. Finding tickets takes just a few taps. Seeing the view from your seat before buying makes choosing tickets easy and confident. Prices include the fees up front, and they have features like zone deals to help you unlock great seats at better value. So whether it's NBA game or another live event, everything is right there in one place. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKDOWNNBA. That's LOCKEDON NBA for $20 off your first purchase. Download the Game Time app today and get in on the action. Okay, you mentioned something that I also wanted to talk about today. And you kind of already said why I wanted to talk about it, which is good. What is it, 23, 24 starting lineups for the Pacers this year, all of a sudden against the Heat? Like, yeah, we're going to start Quentin Jackson instead of a center. What? And it works great. Siakam's defending Bam pretty well, and Quentin Jackson forces 2 steals in the first 2 plays of the game, and their bench made enough sense to work, and they still found a way to play both Potter and Huff, and they win the game. Like, that's great. That's good. I was going to kind of generically ask what you think about them constantly changing the starting lineup and what that does for the success and failures of the team in the win-loss column, but you already described the reason they do it. I think that's important to kind of get to the heart of, is that in a season like this, looking for 5-man combos that you walk away from the game and go, oh, sweet, those 2 guys work, this combination works, whatever it may be, is really important. And so if all these questions about the center spot, they have a lot of backup centers, so maybe this isn't actually a real question to ask, but like, you're not as stressed about finding a center rotation if you know that at any moment you can snap your fingers and put a Siakam Furphy front court out there and it'll work. Or you're not as stressed about your point guard depth if you know that you can start Quentin Jackson and Andrew Nembhard together in a pinch, right? Like, that is a good reason to do this, especially if it's a lineup that actually makes sense and isn't just like random. I think they lead the league in starting lineups. I'd have to look that up again. The Cavs are right on their tail. But I think this is smart, even if it might at some points, like, it could happen immediately. They had 13 losses in a row. Even if at some point, again, they just look miserable, they should keep trying to find good lineups and stick with them for some amount of time.
Yeah, and even if they have a better, more successful stretch, if there are certain things they want to look at, I wouldn't be opposed to, continuing to tinker and try different things. I think the coaching staff is still looking at each matchup. Since we are just close to halfway through, they're still looking at a Miami Heat with, here's what gives us the best chance on this night. And it worked out really well. They led wire to wire, up 36-18, never looked back. So there's some of that. Some of it's the personnel, the injuries. But I think you and I probably agree that the most important thing is, again, this season, trying to figure out what you have. And there's already been, at least a few success stories with that. So I think some of it too is, whether it's motivation or whether it's setting standards, there are certain guys that, like, hey, if you don't rebound one night, if you don't get back on defense, if you don't whatever, it may be kind of an old school thing with more of a new school team. But you're not going to start the next game. You're not going to play as much. Like, I think there's so many reasons why this is kind of coming together. But the most important one would be, let's figure out what we have moving forward.
And like, they played the Heat just now. Okay, cool. They can put Siakam on Bam. That might be a playoff matchup. Like, not long from now, right? Not this year, but they play Boston this month. This is all pre-trade deadline. They play Detroit this month. They play Philly this month. They play Atlanta this month. I don't know if Chicago will ever be good, but they play Chicago this month. Like, figure some of that stuff out. Try lineups like that against those teams. Like, I highly doubt they go no center against Neemias Queta and the Celtics. Maybe they do. I don't know. But I kind of doubt they would do that again against the Celtics. Learn something from that. No Tatum, sure, but like maybe your lineup finds something there. Who knows? I think that's all very valuable and important. And like it's even beyond like, well, it's not beyond. It's also second unit combos, like very small thing. But in Charlotte, there was no Andrew Nembhard, and you can see a little more than you've seen all season of like Huff and TJ McConnell together, which no one is talking about the Huff McConnell duo. It's not like this flashy, huge deal thing that is going to have major consequences for the future of the Pacers. But like that might be their backup 1-5 next year. Like you want to see how they play together. You want to see what kind of spacing or shots can come from that pairing. Like even something as small as that, it's valuable. Okay, Potter at the 4 for a hot second against the Heat. Like all sorts of these little things that feel so like, okay, you're 7-31, you're just doing, or 8-31, you're just doing whatever. Like what if they find gold? You know, I know that it sounds insane with guys who are going to be playing 18 minutes a game next year, but all this stuff matters as they try to just find little tiny ways to be better than they were before Haliburton got hurt. So I'm all for this tinkering, even if every night it's like new lineup, and everybody's all confused or stressed out about it. Like this is good. I think this is a good way to do it.
Yeah, and even go back to like all the roster changes, the 2-way guys, the 10-day guys, like all that stuff is kind of hard to, you know, when it's a new guy or two, like every couple weeks, it seemed like it's kind of hard to really pay much attention, like for the average fan to think about this guy or that guy. But if you strike gold on even one of them, like I have no idea what Potter's future is, but if he ends up being even a third center or backup center, you know, that's, I think back to however many years ago it was when O'Shea Brissett burst on the scene and we're like, this guy can play. And he, became a rotational piece and then bounced around a little bit for other NBA squads. So, any little win, like I said, that you can find throughout the year is a big deal, even if it becomes one of the revolving chair of players. Even if one sticks, then that's a good thing.
What if Ethan Thompson is your next 2-way contract conversion guy in the future that you just pulled out of a different team's G League program? Like that all matters. That's all a big deal. He's been certainly interesting. Okay, Tyler, the contract guarantee deadline is over. So we have a very good idea of what the Pacers team and finances are now until the trade deadline. So I am requiring every guest I have from now until February 5th to give me a single trade take that they have about the Pacers. You're up.
Okay. Well, I don't know if this is that hot of a take, but based on what a lot of people, I think, presume is going to happen before February 5th, I don't think that both of the recent lottery picks are going to be dealt. I think it's probably going to come down to one of the two. Now, there are some packages floating out there that some look legit, some are terrible, where it's like, hey, they're packaged together and there's a huge move made. Mine, I feel like it's kind of combined where I think maybe one of Mathurin or Walker will be dealt. And I also kind of think the Pacers will not find their starting center this January, February. I think that's going to be next summer. So not like a spicy hot take right there, but it's a little safe. But I also feel like a lot of people expect the center of the future to be acquired and fully expect those guys to be dealt. I'm not fully convinced. I know the Pacers are going to be looking at that, but that's kind of a medium flavor take, I guess.
It would be hard to like I think your points are congruent in that it'd be hard to get a good center on a reasonable to high salary without trading both. And trading both, like, I know that this might like be odd to hear, but if you're a front office decision maker and you're trading two of your own lottery picks in the same trade, like you better
be good back.
Yeah. Like that's a lot to eat. Even if there's no question about your ability to do the job. They made the freaking finals last year, right? Like no one is questioning the general ability of any decision maker with the Pacers. The draft is certainly the thing that people ask the most questions about. Like you probably don't want to trade both in the same trade without getting like a no doubt awesome, perfect fitting great player. I'm not saying that player doesn't exist, but yeah, I think that's totally logical. The reason that Mathurin's going to come up a lot is both his contract and fit stuff. Like, because he's an expiring, everybody will mention his name. And then Walker, with Furphy's emergence and Sheppard still kind of rock solid, like, is there actually even a guaranteed spot for him to play next year? That's why they'll both come up a lot. And that's fine. I don't think it's unreasonable to discuss both, but it is totally fine for the Pacers to, I mean, they picked him for a reason. It's not like they haven't gotten better. They haven't maybe like exploded in impact or anything, but they've gotten better since they were drafted. Like, it's reasonable for them to keep trying with these guys. And Walker, they already picked up the option. They have another year to keep trying with him if they want to next year. So yes. And Mathurin's obviously a good player, right? I think that's totally reasonable. I think the only way they would trade both is if they are guaranteed getting a very good, for sure, multi-year starting caliber center. And honestly, I only think like one or two of those have even been floated as available targets for the team. So good takes, Tyler. Very good.
I also wonder how injuries will play a role. Actually, not just the deadline, but the entire season, even like with Obi Toppin. Like, I could see a scenario where they may have looked to move off of his deal, thinking that the Walkers of the world could play a similar role. But now that Toppin's been out, has Walker shown enough in that time? Maybe they say we want to bring Obi back, and there's all sorts of things. And then the Mathurin thing, are they keeping him out a while to make sure he doesn't get re-injured so they can trade him, or is it legit? You never know how that's going to play into the factors. But it's coming soon. We're 3-4 weeks away, so
it sneaks up on you. Obi's injury has proven how valuable Obi is, both in that they've played bad and in that the guys who you'd think could step up and do some things. No, no one has done anything close to what Obi Toppin can do for the Pacers. Yes, his salary slot has been deemed to be maybe more valuable than even the lowest on Obi have determined. Good trade takes, Tyler. This will be fun to do with everybody. I have a feeling that I'm not going to tell anybody who they can and can't talk about. Basically, everybody's going to have a Mathurin or Walker take.
Yeah.
For this, which is reasonable. Where can people find you, the things you're saying about the Pacers, Tyler?
Same basic spots, indysportslegends.com, and on X, TylerSmith_ISL.
Also, IU and the Cubs, who are better than they were last year, and the Hoosiers, who are, if you haven't heard, very good at football. How did nobody make the Indiana beat Miami joke last night in the Heat game? How did, that just was such a layup, and it never really came up?
Well, I had one tweet. I showed a picture of the guys warming up, and I said, Indiana, Miami, not that one, but it is one.
Thank you very much for the time, Tyler. Everybody will be back tomorrow talking Pacers Celtics. A very hot and angry about the refs, Jaylen Brown versus the Pacers. That should be fun. Thank you all so much for listening today. We will see you very soon.